Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes. It is Sunday night. It's time for another live stream. Sorry, I was just getting my cup of tea. Sorry, I'm late. So, what are we going to talk about this week? Well, a couple of things, actually. This week, we're going to talk about O4 in general, because I want to talk a bit more about it, because, frankly, everything I've seen so far is showing it's going to be very, very interesting. We will touch a bit on the video that I've just published, which is Hamfile does work for the Avata 2. We have finally also seen the release of Betaflight 4.5, which I'm really excited to try. This should be the real step change in Betaflight with regards to having proper safety features as well, because for years it was said that Betaflight doesn't need things like return to home, but when you're building these quads with very expensive VTXs on board now, it would be nice to have a failsafe that brings it back. We're also going to talk a little bit about this, because you might have noticed I don't have a review on this out yet, and that is because I got sent mine a lot later than everyone else seems to have got sent it. Although I think Pavel got his late. So anyway, I have been flying this today. It won't be a review, but I will talk about it a little bit. Oh, losing frames. Weird. Let me know how it goes. And we'll also talk about a few other things that come up along the way as well. I'm just going to wait for the stream to settle in. Hopefully it does. It can be a bit of a pain at times. I should make sure my family isn't doing nothing dull. Now, hello to everyone who has joined us tonight. Looking good across the pond. And can't get the GPS to light up in Betaflight. Okay, interesting. Can I turn up the voice? It should be loud enough. It should be the normal loudness. Ham God, thank God. So I hope you're all safe and well. It has been a nice day here in the UK today. Windy, though. Windy, windy, windy. So I have flown, and I have actually flown this. And I have flown a couple of other things as well today. Should we do a 2-hour stream to check the audio? Yeah, I did that last time, didn't I? So, yeah. Snowbird Sneeze, any word on O3 support for the Goggles 3? Nothing yet. But, look, I suspect that one will be a bit of a random drop firmware. It will happen. Okay, no. It will happen. Nothing is 100%, but it will happen. But it could be 3 to 6 months. You've got to wait and see what DJI... You've got to understand DJI is a political beast, and at times you've got to wait for the politics and the stars to align before it all works out. And you may have seen my video in the week, because I want to talk about this a bit more as well, which is DJI does appear also to be working on another version or variant of the Avata 2. There is a WM521 in the works, but also what is more interesting is a ZV300 goggle. Now, that is very interesting, because that would imply that they are doing something a bit cheaper. Now, we're going to get straight into it. And I think we'll cover that first, because it is quite interesting. So for those who didn't see, I did put a video out saying we have seen, and this was posted by Junus, that in Assistant 2, there is logging info in there, which is for new devices, because they sort of add them, for a WM521. Now, the WM520 is this. So maybe it will in all likely be a variant of this. We don't know what that variant will be. DJI have done this before, so just to give you an idea, the Mavic 3, the Mavic 3 Pro, and the Cine, They all basically are within 1 digit of each other. So it's that kind of way DJI does its product numbering. People have said, could it be the FPV drone? It's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely. In all essence, it's probably the same shell as this. But I would not be shocked, and I said this in the video, I would not at all be surprised if DJI released an Avata Lite that had a fixed camera, 4K camera fixed, right? Fixed on an angle, like that. 4K, no Wi-Fi and Bluetooth functionality, a couple of other things cut back to try and get the price down. Thermal Enterprise version, it is possible. It is possible, but if you add that up to a GL300, sorry, not a GL300, that was an Inspire 1 remote controller, for those who've been playing along. A ZV300 goggle sort of implies a much lower end goggle than the current goggle. Could be Enterprise, could be box goggle. We just don't know. The goggle is actually more interesting than the drone. Got to go to bed, watch tomorrow morning. Okay, Michael, no problem at all. So, nothing is confirmed. There is no hints of an 04E unit yet. There is no hints of anything like that at this moment in time. We've just got to wait and see what it might be. Username not available said, why would DJI not have backwards compatibility at launch? Really simple, right? DJI is trying to sell out of Goggles 2 and Integras. Why would you buy Goggles 2 and Integras if Goggles 3 worked with the FPV system today? DJI will want to sell all of that old stock first of all, and then once they've sold all of that old stock, they'll then bring another goggle and bring support for the other products. It's really simple. They will not want to be left with a load of stock of Goggles 2 and Integra. They are over. They are the old chipset. They want them gone. So they'll sell them off first, and then they'll bring support for the other stuff. Now, you might see support for the other stuff come before they go, but they will want to get rid of all of that other stuff first. Look, this is usual DJI games. I think it is almost 100% O3 support will come for Goggles 3. I don't believe, though, they will have Air Unit and Vista support. I think they will stop there. Based on DJI's old documentation, Goggles 2 and Integra should be getting support for the Avata 2 at some point as well, and that will then make probably those goggles the best purchase, not the Goggles 3. Oh, sorry. But we're going to have to see. But yeah, we don't know. Look, DJI is all about selling what they've got first. It's all marketing. It's all games. There are elements of the Avata 2 that does feel a little bit rushed, if I'm honest. And I haven't really worked on my review this week, and I don't know what to do about my review. I'm actually tempted to do a live review and just talk about it. I'm going to be honest now. This drone flies like an absolute bag of shit. The Avata 2 is not a great drone. It doesn't fly well in any mode, period. It is all over the place at times. It is insanely underpowered for its size, and frankly dangerous to do any moves on. It is not a great drone. That isn't to say it doesn't have many great points. That isn't to say it isn't the best image quality we've had in a DJI FPV system, because it is. 04 is frankly incredible, and I will talk about that a bit more in a minute. And overall, it's better than the Avata in most ways, but it is still a terrible drone. Really is not good, genuinely, as a drone. And what worries me is this. There are loads of people online arguing that it's great for freestyle. There's loads of people posting on YouTube videos. Do not freestyle this drone, right? You are going to end up smashing it. Where is it worse than the original Avata? It's got less power than the original Avata. I also think the lack of power is DJI software nannying. Chris Clive just said, Captain Drone shared a post about the Avata 2 staying in manual mode and kicks into normal mode in higher winds. Yes, DJI introduced that on the Avata as a result of me and others showing it having that quirk where it would fall out of the sky. DJI introduced their nannying feature, and that has moved over to this. Definitely underpowered, Joseph says. Yeah, it's not a punch-up. But the worst thing is there's not enough power there to get you out of a maneuver. So, for instance, if you do a flip, you're okay, right? But if you do, say, a bank roll, there are times where you'll find yourself coming towards the ground at full stick and you're like, please have enough power. You can't dive, you'll go and hit. Yeah, 100%. It just doesn't have enough power to get out of the dives and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. As a tooting around cinematic drone is pretty good. It's quieter than the original Avata. I don't think it's more stable, though. Honestly, this thing wobbles around all over the place. Something isn't quite right with the algorithm on this. Especially when you watch the Return to Home. Return to Home, it's just doing this. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But what concerns me is, if you're looking for a great cinematic quad to fly around buildings, fly around beaches and things like that, it's actually very good. Very, very, very good. Can it do flips and rolls? Yes. Can it do freestyle maneuvers? Yes. But there is a limit to how far you can go with it. Is there a Discord channel for this channel? There is. There should be a link in the description. There is, and unless you're experienced, you're going to get into trouble. And even if you're not experienced, you may still get into trouble. I'm not saying it's a bad drone, but too many people have said this drone is amazing, fantastic. It is very good. I like it in every way. But by God, does it have some quirks, especially the wobbling. The wobbling is weird. Skyscope tested it and seeing the hover point is 60%, in FCC the hover point is 21%. Oh, I need to check that. Looks fun, but not fantastic. Not to do tricks. It's made for cinema. I know, but that's not what DJI's marketing video shows. It's not what all of the KOLs are saying, and this is the problem. Now, Jake's got a really good point here. It definitely has quirks, but I use it to chase skier downhill all day yesterday and did a fantastic. 100%. And Jake, that is the use case. That is the thing. Chasing things, following things, it's great. There is just... it has limits, and I don't think enough of the reviews that I've seen have really said, hey, this can do this, but just because it can doesn't mean you should, because you may get yourself into trouble, and that's the problem. And that's my only concern. But look, it's got some quirks. It's definitely got some quirks. There's a couple of things that are being highlighted now. There's a quirk about the return to home, although I'm not actually convinced that's a quirk. I think it's probably a bit of a lack of thought on DJI's part. There's a video showing that when it returns into signal, when you've been in manual mode, the throttle kicks in. But that sort of would happen because in a sprung throttle setting, the throttle would be centered and you have the ability to command over altitude even in return to home. It seems to be that what's happening is if you've adjusted your spring, so you've not got center throttle, when you get signal back, it then takes the position input as command. I do think there's probably a bit of a quirk, but I don't think it's a fault. I'm not sure I'd label it a fault as such. Lon said, we figured that out. Yeah, my understanding is, and I haven't really, I watched a little bit of the video because it was shared on my Discord, and the only thing I noticed in it was, as it kicked in, his throttle was like there. And I was like, right, so you do have altitude control in return to home, and I'm guessing it's taking the position of the throttle in manual mode because the remote's in manual mode. It's a bit of a quirky one, and I guess DJI, I don't see, if you labelled it as a bug, I don't see it as dangerous because it's not like it's falling out of the sky. It begins a descent. At that point, if your remote has reconnected, your goggles will have, because remember, the remote link on the Avata 2 is via the goggles, not from the remote to the drone. So it isn't possible to have remote connection and not goggles. So you would have visibility of what it's doing. The only scenario you could say is a bit weird is if you had the goggles above your head when it kicked in. But yeah, I really don't see it. I see it as maybe one of those quirks you probably need to understand. But it sort of started a descent, you know, like that. But I didn't see it as dangerous. I don't really see it as a major issue. I think it's something you just need to be aware of, especially if you're using the manual throttle mode. That's it. You know, I don't think it's an issue. We have now a much better understanding of the RF behavior, and I'm not sure how I'm going to put this into a video when I get to do it. And for those who haven't seen, tonight I have just published an update on the FCC ham the situation. So initially it was believed that the ham file didn't work. And that was because we weren't seeing any of the behavior we were expecting from it. We also were led down a few garden paths with it as well, in the sense of looking for one thing but not looking for another. And I've spent a lot of time looking at this, and there's been a few reports of people saying things like, well, the ham file is working for me and it's not for me. And what it turns out is the ham file doesn't work like it used to, but that isn't to say it isn't working. And the really interesting thing in this is when I was doing my initial testing on the bench, it didn't look like it was working. And the reason it didn't look like it was working is because 04 is dramatically more dynamic than 03 ever was. But also, the ham file isn't sticking it into FCC mode. It's sticking it into a new mode that we haven't seen before. And what I mean, and how this was somewhat missed, is as follows. The 04 has a lower signal level when armed, and that it can then peak up to as the signal degrades. So if we don't know what the numbers are, but just think about this as dynamic RF power, just like Express ELRS, you could have in CE 10 milliwatts low power, 25 milliwatts high power. Okay? It is the same in FCC mode, but the lower level isn't the same. And the easiest way to explain this is the lower level between CE and the lower level between FCC are two different stages. So when you trigger FCC mode, when you're in CE mode and watch it on the spectrum analyzer, you see it go from here to here. So when I was testing the ham file, this wasn't changing. So I'm sitting here going, it's not working. What was not understood is the ham file does actually remove the upper ceiling 25 milliwatts, but it doesn't change the lower level. And it is only when you start to monitor the behavior in a signal degradation scenario, you then see the issue. And actually, the ham file is working. What the ham file isn't doing, though, is putting you into FCC mode. What the ham file now is doing is moving you out of FCC mode and putting you in a new mode, a CE mode, without the 25 milliwatt ceiling. So today, I can confirm, and as I've shared in the video, that the ham file does not unlock auto channel mode to allow you to select manual on the Avata 2. It does not stop it working on 3 bands. What the ham file does is retain all of the CE behavior, still triple band capable, still stepping through the way CE mode steps through, but instead of stopping at 25 milliwatts, it now will go all the way up to the maximum output, which appears to be the same as FCC. And what really confused us in this was when doing the ham testing, it didn't look like anything was changing. And the reality was what was changing was missing. Now, I haven't confirmed this myself, Olaf, but I have had it confirmed to me by multiple sources that, yes, also the ham file does remove the speed limit. So today, you actually have 4 scenarios with the Avata. You have CE mode with the ham file, which gives you more RF power and more speed. FCC mode, and FCC mode with the ham file. Basically, the Avata C mode with the ham file is the same RF power as FCC mode, the same speed as FCC mode, but it still can use triple band, and it still doesn't have manual channel selection. The only way today to get manual channel selection on the Avata 2 is with either drone tweaks or drone hacks. So there isn't a completely free solution like we had on the Avata in 03. We sit in this weird scenario. Andy Kirby, C plus ham is the best option for most people unless you need to manual channel selection. That it really now is. If you need manual channel selection, go to FCC hacked apps. If you don't, use the ham file. Now, there is an incredible amount of interesting behavior that I have documented now around how 04 works in 2.4, 5.195, 2 gigs mode, and 5.8. There is so much that has changed on 04 compared to 03. What is actually interesting is I can actually see DJI, and what they've done is stepped through this with the original FPV system, and then 03 and then 04. 04 is insanely dynamic, and I mean insanely dynamic. And here's another real interesting fact that people may not be aware of. For instance, in 04, there's more RF power in 20 megahertz carrier modes than there is 50 and 60 megahertz carrier modes. And you may actually observe this, right, in real world use. So as the signal degrades, it will drop its carrier mode down from 50 megahertz down to 20 megahertz. When you drop down to 20 megahertz, you actually get quite a substantial bump in RF power as well, moving up roughly from 26 dBm to 33 dBm. Okay? So you can actually have this really crazy shift of signal goes down, 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 and then boom, signal will come up really strong. And that is because when it shifts down to 20 megahertz carriers, it is dumping it right up to full RF power. It can't actually do full RF power in the 50 megahertz carrier mode. It actually has to drop the carrier width down to go full RF power. Obviously, there's the quirks with it being able to jump to 2.4 gigs. It doesn't really use 2.4 gigs very much. In CE, it's mostly 5.2 and 5.8. It does like 5.2 gigs, I'll tell you that. It is very, very interesting. Hi there. If I do the ham thingy, fly more speed than you, will it ruin my K refresh? Look, I'm not aware of DJI ever refusing K refresh for any ham mods in the past. I would not expect it to have any problems. I can't guarantee it, but I would not expect it to have any problems. But there's no guarantees. But I'm not aware of DJI ever causing any issues on that. I'm not even sure they check for it. So that's the interesting thing. Now, I'll be honest, 04 in itself is incredible. There is no news on an air unit at this time, as I've said several times. Look, if it happens, it may be way down the line. What I will tell you is this. 04, maybe if there was a flyaway, maybe, but they've never done it till now. So we can only go by previous history. Up until today. Look, DJI's K refresh, frankly, has been outstanding. DJI's repair services have improved beyond a joke. For those of us who've been around a long time, and Lon will know what I mean, in the early days, DJI support was horrific. Now, you could literally send it to them in a carrier bag in bits and they'll repair, replace. They are very, very interesting. What is Jester saying? What are you saying, my friend, before... I don't understand. I need to go back and read. Thank you, Rolf. I don't know what you're saying. Right, there was... DJI officially say, if I recall, Lon, that they don't support K refresh or warranty if you were using one of the SDK-based apps, as I recall. And I thought the reason for that was they couldn't get the logs. So they officially said they don't support it. But I'm not aware of even any cases of them doing it. It's more a fine print than anything else, as I recall. If I remember, it's something like if you use one of the third-party SDK-based apps, you know, Litchi, all of those ones, they don't support it. I think it was that. But my understanding was that was more around the fact that you may not have logs. It was something like that. Was something like that. As for does DJI make good products? Look, DJI, are they toys? No, I won't agree a DJI drone is a toy. They are the industry leader. Their technology is beyond 5 years ahead of anyone else, and then some. All things are toys if it's not an important tool to you and you just play with it. Is the product a toy? No. The product is very, very good and is used daily for many things, and it's unfair to call them toys in the sense of Fisher Price. That's what enters my mind with toys. And then some. It's interesting. As a company, they have their issues, you know. And look, me and Lon often clash, you know. Look, you got to understand, at times DJI do what suits them. At times they are a complete bunch of shits and do absolutely everything they can to fuck customers over. At times they are beyond impressive. The biggest frustration with DJI is they don't have to be the way they are today. They could just be so much more. But hey, they are a political beast, and that needs to be understood. If they make the Avata goggles 2 compatible, will it still... No, Floorflyer, we don't fully understand, but it looks like, and this is where things may get a bit quirky. In their documentation, they show the binding as goggles 3 and remote 3, goggles 2 Integra, remote 2. I don't think you're going to be able to use goggles 2 with remote 3. I think you're going to end up in this camp of one or the other. And then the remote would communicate, as far as we understand, directly with the drone. The drone today is capable of communicating directly with the remote. It's just, you know, there's no receiver in DJI 3. It's all the same RF system. What DJI chose to do is make this only communicate with the goggles via the low power RF Bluetooth chipset. So, you know, it's, you know, there's some complications around that. ENF FPV. If you got Drone Tweaks app, yes, you should be able to manually select the channels. I've done the FCC hack with a ham file. I see 3 channels, but I can't select them. I don't understand why you can't select them. Are you in auto? You got to go to manual. You should be able to select them. If not, reboot. And if I do the ham hack, can I reset? Yes, just reset the goggles and connect it to like the Fly app and it resets. I can't see the... yeah, see, that's going to be the interesting thing, Long. We're going to end up in this weird position. I can't see the RC3 working with O3A units. Technically, though, DJI only need to do a firmware update on O3, and as long as it can do... Because there's nothing specific on the drone side about the new RC setup. It's the goggles side that's specific. So technically, you could have O3 still using this remote or the other remote. And that's the same with the drone, because the O4 side of it can take the remote or it can't. I just wonder what DJI will end up doing. I think we'll have some fragmentation here, just because they won't want to get too messy with it. But there's technically no reason why remote 3 communicates with the goggles. The goggles don't communicate with O4, the drone, in any particular new way as such with regards to the remote. It's just they're passing it along as telemetry data. So in theory, it should just be a firmware update if they want to do it that way. In theory. But we're going to have to wait and see. We just don't know. Andy Cube, on O4, the separate GFK controller. Yes, but that is between the goggles. So the GFSK link is 2.4 gigs Bluetooth communications between the goggles and the thing. I did talk about this in a video. I can't remember which one it is. I have talked about this in one of them. I've shown it in all the teardown stuff. So there's a dedicated chipset. It's an off-the-shelf chipset. In fact, I'll even show you what the chipset is. It's basically a Bluetooth 5 chipset is what it is. And it communicates between the remote and the goggles. It is still capable of up to 1 watt of RF power from the remote. However, it doesn't today communicate with the drone because they don't have that chipset in the drone. So it is only the goggles that have that chipset. I think I showed it on last week's stream, actually. So yeah, it's basically a low power Bluetooth telemetry communication between the remote and the goggles. And in fact, it is that antenna there, to be precise. The one behind that front end. Ham hack power on sequence is important. Not in my findings, burn it be. I've done the test. It actually doesn't matter. I know people are saying you have to do it in a certain order. I don't think you do. Not in my findings. Yeah, I agree, Lon. Look, I don't recommend the DJI remote anyway. It's a crap show. Just from the overall behavior, I prefer standalone for FPV. DJI FPV Remote 3. Where is the teardown images? I got to put this video live. I haven't actually put this video live yet, the teardown of the remote. That'll be this week. Is it that one there? Am I looking for? There you go. Let me desktop. Boop. So that is the internal PCB of the remote. So the chipset is the N52810. This video will probably go live tomorrow, actually, on the channel. So that's the complete teardown on the remote. You can see the chipset there. So they're using a gigabit devices, GD32F415 SoC, and it's basically got this standard N52810 chipset, which is a Bluetooth communication chipset. You've then got a Skyworks PA, which is the 6612, and then you've got two PCB antennas, one on that side of the board, and there is another one on the other side of the board when I find it. There it is. There's another antenna on that side of the board. They do have the option for external antennas as well. They do have ports on there, but they're not using them at this time. What's also interesting is there's a lot on this board not populated. So, yeah, rather interesting overall in how it behaves. Hey, and if I use 2.4 gig amp for an old controller, should I use 2 for both antennas or 1 would enough? You're probably going to need to use 2 if it's diversity. But you could. The problem is there is some logic in not using 2. Try it with 1 and see how it happens. The only problem with a lot of the amps is you may have a problem where it blocks the return path back. You may have to use 2. There are amplifiers out there that support duplex as well. There were some specifically designed for the DJI system. Would you say the radio link is more reliable, the Avata 204, than the original radio? I don't think it's more reliable. Oh, I filled my hard drive. Let me just delete something and carry on. The link is no longer separate, so it's bundled with the goggles. I'm not saying it's better or worse, it's just different. In many ways, it does take away the quirks that we had on the first system. So if you lose video, you'll lose remote and it'll fail safe. One of the problems on the original system was it didn't really do that, and it did some reconnection after like 2 or 3 seconds if you didn't realize it, and if you did know it happened, okay, but if you didn't know it happened, it could mean that you end up taking over fail safe and the remote reconnects before the video and you end up in a bit of a mess. DJI sort of have fixed all of that, which is good news. Let me just delete a couple of recordings. Have I got any space left on that drive now? I have a live scratch drive. Yes. Start recording again. There we go. Okay. I have an interesting scenario. Stress test the video link, the video drop completely. It shouldn't be possible. The remote does not communicate with the drone. The only thing that can still happen, though, is you could lose the data link enough for video, but not control link, because the goggles data link can go down to 1 megahertz carrier, 1.6 megabits a second. So you could have this scenario where it drops down to the minimum carrier width for video to drop, but the remote control link is still there. In theory, that is still as possible as before. The remote isn't communicating with the drone, but the goggles have multiple carrier modes, so you could get down to this very small carrier mode. I have seen it do it, but I haven't tested it deeply enough yet. There seems to be a problem with the RC2 and 03. There's a bunch of us going back and forth on the forum about the problem, but they don't seem to listen. Yeah, it's shit. The link is absolutely horrific and shouldn't be used. Don't use it. Just do not use the DJI remote link with a non-DJI drone. It's that simple. Just don't do it. It's not worth the hassle or the risk. The behavior has been designed around their own drones that have very specific fail-safe behaviors. Yeah, the lowest bandwidth, it probably got down to the 1 megs, Karen. It's probably enough to keep the telemetry link going, but not the control link. And actually, this is probably why I've done a test on return to home, and I think I've probably seen it as well, because the drone flew beyond the point of video loss. You also saw that in the video with the guy flew through the rock. And that's why in failsafe, you actually see the drone turn around and return to home at the point of video loss, but not necessarily the point of control link loss. So something that is worth understanding with the Avata 2 is the second you lose video, get your fingers off the sticks is probably a safe recommendation. Because, yeah, it's probably still pushing it along at the 1 megahertz carrier. And that's probably why, in mine, I saw very similar. That's why you're seeing that return and back behavior, actually. In fact, that's probably why DJI have done it. It sort of makes sense when you actually think about it. That is likely the reason DJI... Ooh. Oh. Mute. Stop doing that. That's probably why DJI have done it. Because, yeah, if I actually show you this here, which is quite interesting, and I can't remember if I showed this last week, but if you see here, this is the craft video and this is the drone video. And what you will see is the video actually drop. Wait for it. I've paused it there because I'm talking. Wait, let's keep going. Yeah, you saw there, look. That is the point the video stopped, but the craft kept going for that amount of time. And then it turns around and actually returns to the same point with its wobble I was at when the video lost. So again, if you watch it there, it's that rock. There's that, and then what you'll see is that lump of seaweed there is the point it drops just before that rock, but it keeps going. So yeah, the chances are the RC link is continuing a period beyond the video, which makes sense. It's the same way the camera drones operate. You know what? I haven't looked at any of their camera drone behavior for a while on. Probably, yes. But I haven't checked it for a while. But yeah, and that's This is likely why DJI actually added in this spin around and return back. Yeah, sort of makes sense, actually. I hadn't thought of it. Why would it not fly backwards? You know, upside? I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know. And why does it wobble? I don't know. Why does this drone wobble in return to home? I just don't know. I'd love to understand it. I would love... The return to home is so funny. It's like it's drunk, and we just don't know why it's doing it. Looking at the ground and walls, I'm not convinced. It's the sensors. They're wobbling to see the ground. The only reason, I guess you could for the TOF sensor, but I still don't really get it. I still don't really get it. It's funny, though. It's quite funny. It wobbles its way back. But it wobbles its way all in the return to home, even at altitude. It's wobble, 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 wobble. I don't know. It's weird. It's just got a headache. Cut it some slack. Yeah, it's funny. Only difference is the new sensor. Yeah, but it's even doing it at altitude. I'd love an answer. I would love an answer. Because you even see it like 30, 40, 50 meters. It's quite funny, though. It is quite funny. It's nervous in return to home. Right. Anyway, that's enough for DJI. That's where we're at. What about the DJI drone ban? We're going to have to wait and see. Before we move on from DJI, okay, two things. So, the Raptor has announced this week. For those who don't know, who've not seen, this is the drone that is apparently made in a third-party factory in Malaysia, which has no input from DJI at all, which they don't apparently own. They have no input from. I have a big interview with Randall on this. If you haven't seen it, it is on SUAS News, on Gary's channel. I did talk to Randall about it. Drone and Sundry. Let me find it. If you haven't seen it, there is an interview on here. Randall, me, Gary,
this is really like a
where we talked to him about it.
In the background, it's trying to figure out how to make this happen. And I feel like
we talk about a lot, actually, and we talk about what the situation is, you know, how this has happened. Look, we're never going to get told everything. But something, to me, still doesn't fully add up. And, look, we're going to have to wait and see. There are elements of this that don't make sense. There are elements of this that do make sense. Do I believe DJI is not in control of that factory? No. And that's not that I'm calling Randall a liar. I don't believe it. I don't believe for one freaking minute that DJI is going to let their IP go into other people's hands. Do I believe the factory is, in one way or another, choosing to allow this factory to also make some of their stuff for other people? That's probably what it is. We do know some of DJI's own drones are coming out of a Malaysian factory. There are minis that have made in Malaysia stamped on the bottom. Mini 4 Pros, minis. There are other DJI drones saying made in Malaysia. It's not the first. What I question is how independent it is. And I don't know. And I'm not calling Randall a liar. I think Randall's telling us what he knows. In all of my conversations with him, he seemed a stand-up guy. and I don't believe he was very open with me on the stream, and I will go as far as to say he was even more open with me off stream. I think he's a really nice guy. I liked what he was saying. The same factory that assembled the X Dynamics. Which one was the X Dynamics? Lon? What I don't fully believe is that DJI is just going to hand this over and let people have all of the access. Do I think this is a bad thing, though? No. What will happen with the DJI ban? None of us know. Look, facts remain that most of the noise... Oh, the Evolve one with the big... Yeah, the Evolve Dynamics. Sorry. Yes. I thought that was made in the UK, not Malaysia. Lon? That's the one with the big round camera. They're using the big white thing. I thought that was made in the UK. Look, the noise that's being thrown against DJI is still all mostly lies and bullshit. DJI is not stealing most people's data. They're not taking stuff. If you don't go online, they can't have it. Am I saying they're perfect? No. But there are far bigger concerns with American businesses such as Facebook and others. But they could. So could YouTube. So could anyone else. The data theft allegation is just bullshit. It's just bullshit. It's all a smokescreen to get something done. You are in control of your data on your DJI drone just as much as you are in control of your data on your phone from Apple, as in your phone from Google, on your phone from anyone. If you're concerned about DJI data, then don't use social media. But the reality is, this is not about facts. This is about politics. And that is the reality here. And anything could happen. You never know in this world. That's the problem. Is it a good idea for foreign entities' products to be used in government use? Probably not. But I'd say that for everything. I don't think that's specific to drones. You know, I think that's like, should government entities actually be using cell phones by foreign brands? Probably not. I think it's all the same argument. If you care about data security, then you should care about it across the board. You know, take Dell, okay? So Dell are a huge government contractor, yet all their laptops are made in Hong Kong and through Foxconn and others who have links to China. So how far do you go with this? We're happy that all of the laptops we buy are from there, but we're not anything else. So I don't know. You know, there's a lot of noise and bullshit. Anyway, with regards to the Raptor, I'm not convinced we know the full truth. I still don't think it's a bad thing, but I'm not convinced we know the full truth. So let's park all of that there. I want to catch up on a couple of super chats, and then we'll get on to the others. Free Glow FPV, $5. Can I draw a diagram of how you would wire the power for a 2-in-1 for two 4-in-1 ESCs for an X8? I'm looking at pointers to not let out the magic smoke. Just parallel them up. So how I would measure the power would just be plus to plus, negative to negative. There's no special need here. What I would do is, it's not going to be easy, but I would go onto one side of the pads for the input. On the bottom side of the pads, I would loop up a set of wires to the top ESC, is how I would do it. Or if they were all in a stack and everything was lined up, I may even be tempted to put in vertical bars, but I would most likely go to the bottom of the pad with one set of wires, the top of the pad, it's not going to be easy to do, mind, up to the top set of wires, is probably what I would do. or unless using a dual battery setup and go independent inputs on each one, or take wires from both ESC, combine them together, and then go off from there. Just catching up on the second super chat. Please keep up the great work. Oh, thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Is it possible to disable remote ID on the Avata 2? No. Not at this time. Not that I'm aware of. Okay, so next we're going to quickly talk about this. Now, there will be a review of this coming. But Cadex, where's my bloody... There I am. Cadex have released the Gofilm 20. Now, there's lots of reviews out there. This is their first in-house bind and fly quad with the Avatar HD system built in. I've gone off screen now, look. It is available for $400. It is based around the Moonlight kit. I'll be honest, I'm going to skip most of the Cadex marketing bullshit because we know what Cadex are like on this stuff. However, I have to say, it is quite an interesting quad. Now, I've been flying this today, and actually, I actually quite like it. Although, it suffers from one major problem. And just to give you a quick overview here, we'll go to the overhead. Boom! There we go. So this is the Gofilm 20, 94 or 96 mil wheelbase. You have an F4 controller built in, Express ELRS built in as well, with an external antenna, I may add, and it is not on SPI, it is on a UART. You have the Cadex Moonlight VTX located in the bottom. It is the full Moonlight, so it's not the light or anything like that. They've not decased it. Let me just get in there and show you that. It's not decased or anything like that. It's the full Moonlight one. I have to say, and we'll wait for the camera to zoom out. It'll come out in a second. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. There we go. Cadex have put a lot of thought into this quad, and there is a lot they've done right here. So, for instance, XT60 mounted up back, nice and easy to get to. All of the I/O for the Moonlight VTX is easy to get to. You can get to the SD card, you can get to the upgrade ports, you can get to the bind button nice and easily. Nothing poking through holes or anything like that. I will say the USB port for the flight controller is a little bit buried. It is under there, but it isn't the worst to get to. Isn't the best, but isn't the worst. It is an AIO. It's an all-in-one. They're calling the flight controller their, where is it? Their flight controller, they're calling their Super F405 HD. So it's based on the ICM 42688 gyro, has Express ELRS built in via UART, and it's a 20 amp 4-in-1 ESC. They've got a soft-mounted camera up front on this nice little bracket here. It is the Moonlight camera, F405, and it's got their own in-house motors, which you can see there, which are 1303s, 6000 kVs. And actually, it's really nice. It's got a carbon composite, not sure if it's carbon, but composite top plate, the ducts underneath, and it's got this full plastic duct assembly that goes over the bottom all the way to below the camera. You've then got your antennas up back, and as I said, you've got an external antenna for Express ELRS, which is really good to see, should give decent weight. You've got two antennas here for the Moonlight kit as well. There really is a lot to like about it. About the only thing I can say bad about it, having flown it today, is the same things that I always say bad about the Avatar HD system, and that is the quirks and the behaviors of the Avatar HD system. Now, I haven't had a crazy amount of flight time, but I want to show you two things, right? Okay. I have had some flight time on it, and it flies okay, although I don't think they've got the throttle tuning quite right. I prefer a little bit more expo than they had. Now, I did record some footage in 4K. This is the DVR footage from it in 4K, just to show you very quickly. This was my first test flight, right? So I didn't have the camera angle right. I was just moving it around the field. I always test every quad in the same way, which is move it around a field, check a motor doesn't fall off, check a prop doesn't fly off, make sure it's working as expected, make sure it's doing everything it should. I don't want to ever test a quad in a situation where if I lose it, I'm not getting it back. You know, my test field is always just make sure it works. And I always just do just basic stuff, move it around a bit, see how it reacts, see how it feels. It is a little bit windy here today, right? But it more than anything was just let's see how it goes. Now, I was flying it with a 850 milliamp hour 4S pack, plenty enough power, a bit on the heavy side with that battery, but it was flying fine. What I will say is the Moonlight VTX does look very nice in 4K. You can see here I was just no stabilization at this point. This is just seeing how it is. I wanted to just see, really, more than anything, how the camera looks, how it all looks. No complaints, no complaints. Where my complaints are, though, are this. And what I want to show you is something. So, I did a test, right? On flight number 2, I was just moving around in the bushes. And I was just coming through here, and I just want to show you this bit of footage first. And all of this looks fine, right? It was a bit windy, so I was getting blown all over the place. And look, yes, I go through that stick, okay? So I thought, oh, yeah, we'll just move it round in here. Now, there's a reason I actually look a little bit all over the place around here, because it's a bit windy, but I'll show you why in a minute. So I end up going through that stick, and then I end up going out the field there. And you might think, oh, that was lucky. Well, it was lucky if I'd have known it was there, because my annoyance with the Avata HD system is, as always, its behavior in these scenarios. So if I now show you the goggles footage from this, right? Let me just turn off the subtitle track because it's annoying. Now you're going to see the goggles footage, and this is the bit that drives me nuts about Avata HD, and that is, it would have been great to have gone through that stick if I'd have known it was there, because look at this point. Can you see that branch? I can't. Can you see that branch? I can't. Can you see that branch? It's not there. Ooh, something's changing. A bit of green. Oh, look. Out of nowhere, the branch appears. So again, just to show you it as I play through. Oh, there's a branch there. And this is the problem with the Avata HD system. Is the fact that this mushing and this behavior is just still no better. They've still not fixed the way it looks. You know, this is how it is in the field. I flew up the side there to see how it was behaving with the mush. You can see it here. All of this is just mush. All of this is just mush. I was actually looking at the mush in this. That's what I was doing. And that's why I really wasn't paying attention around here. Because as I come round the trees, you start to see, look at it. All of this starts compressing up. And I was like, what is going on? Oh, we had a step change there and it's all compressing up. I was like, oh, even at that point there, look, nothing. And then, oh, look, there's a branch. That was lucky. So overall, I actually really like the little quad. I actually think the drone is very good. The reality today is, what lets it down is the video system. Its recording quality is actually very good now in the Avata Moonlight kit. I can't knock how it looks. I was doing a bit of filming. I haven't even looked at it yet. I haven't even looked at the filming I did this afternoon. Probably that's the first one. I took it down the beach for a bit of a fly. Just to see how it behaved. And I have to say, Moonlight in 4K, it looks okay. You know, the sun was going down at this time of day. it looks all right. I can't really complain about the detail in the Moonlight camera. It's a bit windy, as you could see. So this isn't... I didn't have much of camera angle. You can see the wind knocking there, because obviously there's no image stabilization here. So to be fair, it's doing a decent job, even with the wind up against it. Bobbing a little bit, but that should be stabilized. No, this is Avata Moonlight. I was just doing some passes over the water, seeing how it was in... I do sort of some test laps, which I always do with these quads. It looks good. Can you set the shutter speed in ISO? You can. It looks all right. I'll be honest. I actually like how the 4K looks. It's not bad. It's not Avata 2, but it's not really designed to be. I'm trying to look at it. At one point, I'm trying to remember how close I got to the water at one point. It might be this one. I wonder what this came out like. I haven't watched any of this yet. Yeah, there we go. I always like doing low sweeps up with the water because it always looks pretty good. And to be fair, that looks nice. I'll be honest. That looks really nice. This was recorded in 4K 60. Bit grainy because the light level was coming down, but plenty of detail there. Always a risk flying over water because you ain't getting it back if you have a problem. But I wanted just to see how the camera would look, how it would feel in this scenario, in this environment. And yeah, overall, I actually think it looks pretty good. My boy was there with me. He was my spotter, as you can see. Yeah, I actually think the Moonlight looks really good. No complaints, really, with how the image quality looks. That felt a little jerky then. Weird. But yeah, really can't complain about the video on it. Pretty decent. Really, I wanted just to have a more look of what the video was like on it. Will the Avata 2 automatically raise if you get too close to the water? No. Yeah, it's not bad when it's actually... Not bad, cool cat, when it's not raining and it's not windy. And as you could see there, it was windy. There was still a good chunk of wind going up there. I actually went down this morning to try and fly and I couldn't. Actually, I did the field flight this morning and just went, Jesus, it's too windy to go down there today. Yes, I do live by the water. When it's not windy and raining and... I have actually lost a quad in there as well. It's a bit of a risky test ground, let's just say. What I usually do is go up to the field first, which is, does it fall from the sky? And then I go elsewhere. Anyone with Goggles 3 willing to measure the lens diameter? I will try. I want to buy FPV Controller 3 and Goggles 3 and learn Simulator when 04 comes out. I plan to buy and build a drone. Does it make sense? Not today. It makes no sense today to buy anything based on a future that doesn't exist yet. Really, about my only complaint on the Avatar is just, I wish the live view was better. And I'm going to say this, right? Having flown 04, Jesus, this looks shit. I'll be honest. 04 just looks ridiculously nice. Insane. Insane. But here's the thing. If I just show you now where I showed you that footage, right? So this is the goggles feed from that same flight. And it looks okay on the beach. To be honest, the beach footage is better. It's the greens it can't handle. I turned on 3D. Yeah, I'm not running 3D. This is goggles footage here. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad at all, considering. But you notice the mushiness is gone. It's not there. Why? Because it's not the greens and the trees. They really have messed up the greens on the Avatar HD system. It's the greens they've messed up. It's definitely the greens. It always has been. Ever since they made that change on that firmware release, the greens have just been ruined. You know, same flight. Even under here, the mush is less so. Well, your greens are your Luma. The problem is, your greens are your Lumas, and that's the problem. And they've done something in... It just cannot cope with the high Luma. So there will be a review on it coming. As a quick one for you guys. How close is that river to where I live? In the car, 6 minutes. I really do like the drone. I really do like the drone. And actually, I'll say this about CaddX. I think they've put a lot of thought into it. I do think they've put a lot of thought into it. It's a hell of a nice flying spot when the weather is actually nice. It does. The drone itself looks quite nice. Okay. How decayed is a Pavo 20? I haven't tried the Pavo 20, so I can't comment. My only complaint I will have about it is, and this I complain about all of them, CaddX don't give you a spare duct in the kit. Therefore, they're going to get a mark down. And I mark everyone down for not giving a spare duct in the kit. You always need a spare duct in a whoop, because you will break it. You will break it. Okay, so that's the CaddX. I'm looking forward to whatever their new system may bring. Let's hope it ups the video quality, because I will tell you this. If DJI release an 04 Air unit and it's anything like the Avata 2, everyone else is in the dust. And I mean it by a country mile. They are... 04 is better than anything I have seen from DJI, and then some. And I underestimated just how much better 04 looked. And it's not just camera. Before anyone says it, it's the camera. It is not the camera. It is the video live feed. It is astonishingly better. And you only actually see it if you fly 03 and then onto Avata 2. It is incredibly better, the goggle feed. And like when I first flew it, I was like, oh, this looks nice. But only when I jumped between the two, I was like, Jesus, this is some difference. It is like some difference. It's almost like this is proper 1080p. And the old 03 wasn't. It is dramatically better. And it's not just camera, but the whole RF algorithm has changed. It is just on another level. Seeing is clearly so Andy Cooper has just posted. Seeing is so clearly important in professional shoots with harsh environments with lots of cables, branches. Exactly. You know, that branch I went through, I didn't even know was there. I'll be honest. I was on a path then. When are they going to port 04 to the Mavic line? Well, they already have. The Mini 4's 04. We want analog DJI. We jump into FPV at this level, imagine in 10 years. Yeah. A3's 04, Mini 4 Pro's 04. You know, they were the test beds. It is fair to say, though, the Avata 2 is more 04 plus, is the term I would use for the Avata 2. Are these RF improvements capable on 03? Don't know. The chipset itself is a change. That alone shouldn't be the improvement we're seeing. Clearly, DJI have done a lot of work on the algorithm. Clearly done a lot of work on the algorithm. Does the ham file give more range? Yes. See the video I posted earlier. Rab. For general bench field use and for troubleshooting with the RC Pro Mavic 3 Alien Tech Go, how good is the Immersion RC power meter? It seems to be sold out everywhere. Frankly, I'm going to get into trouble for this. Again, hi Tony, how are you? The Immersion RC power meter has its purposes. It ain't going to tell you what's going on around you. It ain't really going to tell you anything about your drone. It's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy. Look, have I used it extensively here on the bench for testing things like Express LRS? Yes. From an RC Link point of view, it's very good. From an analog FPV point of view, it's very good. From a digital system point of view, it's as much use as a chocolate teapot. There you go. If you want to look at DJI, don't bother. If you want to look at HDZero, it'll do it, but don't bother. It's good for Express LRS. I actually use it for my Express LRS testing. I got a freaking ant climbing my monitor. I got a few ants appeared in the workshop. Get off. Get. However, buy the thing Bardwell bought. No, I wouldn't even. Look, I know JB was talking about he's bought some meters. I don't even recommend them. Look, I'm very lucky, okay? I have the use of a basically £10,000 spectrum analyzer, okay? Which has some features and capabilities which blow everything else out the world, okay? You then got to start looking down at what value does a cheap product give you? So, if you want to understand what's going on around you, everything today is so complex. These mini analyzers, they can't do it. They don't have the scan rate fast enough. So, for instance, if you take a Wi-Fi signal that doesn't have a massive amount of data moving through it, they won't see it. They just won't see it's happening. They just don't exist. So I probably need to look at this in a bit more detail. And I know JB bought the RF not the Hack RF. He's bought the one I looked at a few times years ago, and it looks interesting. The scan rate is the issue. If you don't have the update rate, you're not going to see a lot of this stuff. And that's Tiny SA Ultra was one of them, wasn't it? I can't remember the other one. I know the other one as well because I've almost bought it. So the Tiny SA is this thing here, right? Sorry. Look, I've been using spectrum analyzers for about 20 years. Now I'm going to go on to the Eco in a minute. How much is a Tiny SA? Let's just have a look. £100, cheap as chips. Shall I order one in and give you an opinion? What's people's thoughts? Is there any interest in me telling you if you should buy this thing or not? I don't know. See, here's a real problem. Look, the real-time bandwidth is less than 1 megahertz. Right, just to give you an idea of the problem here, okay? Here's already a problem. So it does 100 to 5.4. Interesting. We need 5.8. I'm guessing it will... Its real-time bandwidth is 200 hertz to 850 kilohertz. DJI is at 50 to 60 megahertz carriers now. That's not even one. You're not going to see jack shit is on this. This is the problem. It's yeah. Well, that's no. It claims, but real-time specs will be different. Resolution filters, so 1, 3, 10 steps from 200 hertz to 850 kilohertz. What's the maximum bandwidth it can show on the display? So center is 3 megahertz. You've got 10 megahertz bandwidth on there. Oh no, sorry, span is 100 megahertz. Okay, interesting. It might show something. It's gonna really struggle. This is the problem. And look, what it's gonna struggle with is things like this, right? So, right, I'm risking doing something here. I'm gonna power up the beast a minute. And the reason I say I'm risking doing it because this thing, I'm gonna stop recording a minute while I do this. Because recording at the same time is probably asking for issues. Let's go to 5 gigahertz single. Yes. Okay, wakey. Wait for it. Come on. Or you're going to make me unplug and unplug. It might not like it because I'm streaming. 1 second. I'm going to have to unplug it. This is where it all goes to hell. Here she comes. Wakey. Boom. We're in. Okay. So. So this is where the issue is. Let me turn off max hold a minute. We don't want max hold. So this year, just to give you an idea, now I'm currently got an IQ bandwidth of 184 megahertz at the moment. Let's just drop that down to 92. That'll give us a bit of a better look. So here, what you're seeing here, right? So let's get the center frequency on that. So we're talking, let's move that down. So this year is actually my Wi-Fi signal. You can see this, if I show you it on the histogram, you can see it there pulsing. Now, the reason it looks like this is there's basically no data going over it. There's nothing going... Yes, I did say IQ bandwidth. So I've got... This will do real-time scanning of IQ data up to 184 megahertz. This unit will. Now, that is my Wi-Fi there. And there's basically no data being transmitted in here over it. So that's why it's sitting there looking dead. Now, if I try and find something to pull down, let me try and find a 1 gigabyte test download file. I think broadband has them. Let's see if it works. Download. I don't know if my phone's actually on 5 gigs. This is the problem. No, it's not. Oh, yeah. There we go. Thought about it. It might be on 2.4. Let me cancel that download a minute. I can't be on. Let's go down to 2.4 and have a look. There it is. Right. Okay. Should we try that again? Clear. So, there is the Wi-Fi. Let's see if it kicks in when I try it here. Download. No, maybe not. Where am I hiding then? What am I running on? What am I running on? Let's pop the span back up, shall we? Let's just have a quick look. Something's going on at 3 gigs. There, let me just get myself in the right position. Let me just check. Yeah, that's my Wi-Fi there. That's my Wi-Fi there. I was expecting it to kick in a lot bigger. Let's just see again. Clear. What you should see is when the Wi-Fi data starts moving, you'll see the carrier sort of pick up. You'll see it much more kick in than it has. Try 5 gigs. Now, I have no idea what my phone is using then, because it's clearly not using the bloody Wi-Fi. What you're going to have trouble seeing... Going to see if poisonous... Yeah. Oh, I wonder if that's the CCTV. Tell you what might be interesting. Let me try something. I have an Arlo system. Ha. Wait a minute. Let me just log back in. It's kicked me out. Let's have a look if that's Arlo. Let's just see. I'm telling it to kick a camera in. Let's see if that now... Interesting. No, it didn't do much then. What you'll struggle with is this, though, right? If I show you this a minute. So if we look at the IQ power spectrum, right? So this is those carriers. So can you see that carrier there? It's actually pulsing. I love that you have this machine. Those traces are invaluable. Yeah. If you look in here, so can you see it's pulsing? So what you've got is, whilst this looks like a continuously transmitting carrier, it's actually not. It's a pulsing carrier. On the spectrum, you'll see it, but you will only see this, right, on something like I'm showing here. On anything that doesn't have the real-time update speed that this does, this just won't exist. You won't even know it's there. I'm a bit annoyed. I'm not, for some reason, it wasn't pinging through. So if we look on the IQ power spectrum, you can see these are permanent. So you can see these two signals here and here are permanent. But that carrier actually isn't permanent. And if I now just do so, let's just see if this kicks in. Now, my phone is definitely not on that Wi-Fi. That is annoying. So the question is, what is my phone on? It must be on 2.4. It should be on 5 gigs. We should be on 5 gigs. I need to have a look at what channel it's on, is what I need to do. Did you see that there? It had a look over the whole band. Let me get down to 2.4 a minute and find where I am down here. That's definitely the Wi-Fi on 2.4. Let's just see if that kicks in. We checked that just now, though. Well, you should be seeing a dramatic shift in how this looks. Because I've done this loads of times. It's like like a boom, oh my God, what is that doing kind of shift in what it's doing. I'm more annoyed I'm not seeing it. So the question is, why aren't I seeing it? Let's go to the full bandwidth. Let me just make sure we're not seeing the Wi-Fi on anything else. If we cheat a minute and let's add on, let's go. So Wi-Fi 11A, BG 2.4. Yeah, so that's definitely my Wi-Fi. Look, you can see it there. You can actually see. Tell you what it might be. Let me just do something. I tell you what it might be. Could be the antenna. 1 second. Where's that vanished to? Ah, 1 second. You know when antenna's good, right? You know when antenna's good when it comes in a box that big. You know when antenna's good when it comes in a box that big and it's empty. Where is it? It's over there. Right, let's do this again, shall we? Right. I will move on in 2 minutes because this is taking time. Right, minus 60 dBm. We're definitely on the Wi-Fi. I wish I could force my phone onto 5 gigs. I'm really annoyed. I'm downloading it, right? And we're not seeing... What the bloody hell is going on? That's the home. That's fine. I'm now annoyed. One second. I'm actually wondering if I've got a coax problem, you know. I'm actually starting to wonder now if I do actually have a coax problem. Because I should be seeing a lot more than that. I think I'm going to need to do some... Ha ha ha! I do have a coax problem. Now I understand why it wasn't working. I've lost the pin. I've lost the pin. It's good to always know, though, where you have a spare. That's a 40 quid cable as well. We're going to do this and then we're going to finish up. One minute. Right. Now I know what's going on. 1. 2. Now I got to figure out what it was. Right. Interesting. Now, should we see what happens next? So we're on 5.62. Don't know if that's right, but let's just... Ah! Now you're seeing. And the file has stopped. I'm on one of the new Wi-Fi bands, which is splitting it on 2 channels, isn't it? That's a shit. Just realised. If I got anything old here, what it's doing is it's splitting it on 2 carriers. You actually saw it then. Let me just show you. If I go to the... Right, watch this. So when I kick this in, ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom. There is the Wi-Fi downloading. Look. There's the Wi-Fi carrier as it's downloading the file. And then, boom, vanishes when it's gone. Now, what you're actually seeing here is you will see here, that is the Wi-Fi band randomly pulsing, look. Randomly pulsing. Just, I'm here every now and again. But because there's no data being transmitted, you're not seeing it. The red is like a hold, basically. It's just a hold to say, hey, it's here. So if your analyzer isn't fast enough to see this, if we look at this on the IQ Power Spectrum, right, you'll see here it's not actually one carrier. That band, you see it there, randomly appearing, and if I show it on the histogram, you'll see it there, randomly, boom, boom, just pulsing, little bit of info, back and forth, I'm here. If I show you it on the waterfall, every now and again, you'll see something, but nothing there at all. Nothing there at all. It is only when we say, hey, let's transfer some data. So I'm going to do a 1 gig file. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Boom. The carrier then kicks in, and then you can see that data being transferred. If we then look at it on the IQ Power Spectrum, you can see it there. If you see it on the waterfall, there's the data now really coming in on the waterfall. You can see it there. And actually, this is where it starts blowing people's minds. If we start messing with this and going in, you can then start to actually see the individual carriers. If I go into the histogram, oh, it's just finished, look. Just finished. If we go back on the waterfall, it's there. We could pause, we could stop, we can start looking in. What is cool on this, and you can mess with this enough, right? And we saw this on Express LRS. You can go in as far on Express LRS to actually see it chirping. You can even see the individual control signal chirping on an Express LRS transmitter. It is insane how far you can go in and see on this, and you could actually see the individual chirps on Express LRS. It's phenomenal when you start looking at things like Express LRS on this. You can go all the way in and really start to see some very, very cool stuff. You really, really can. So if we start playing again, and if we just go, we need to go to 2.4, and we're going to need to tidy this up because this is Express LRS. We're going to need to cut this back a little bit, right? Because there's a bit too much noise. Let's get down the band. Let me also you can now sit. We've still got too much noise. I'm going to turn off the PA. Right, there we go. That's a bit tidier. You can there see the Express LRS carriers transmitting. You can see it there in the mode we're in. If we now start doing some really cool stuff, right? So here you're looking at the chirps on the band, but what we can actually do is we can even go in and start messing with some stuff on the settings. So if I what I want to do is, the bloody hell is the, there we go. And what we want to start doing is bringing in open main up. I want to open that, and I want to open that. And then what I want to start doing is going in. Right there. So now these are the chips. You can start to see these kick in. Let me just bring it out a minute. Right, so let me just bring this here and pause. So these you're starting to see the individual chirps from the Express ELRS transmitter. So if we just play again, and I now got to get this to where I... If we get down to about there... Right, if we... About there... There... Right, we're getting it. Right, let me pause this. Right. Now, you're actually starting to see, right, the actual chirps from the transmitter. So, if I just play it again, slow it to there. Takes a bit of getting to where you want this. About there. 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 You can actually start to see each of these is the chirp of the LoRa signal. And you can actually start to see the order of the chirps. Look. It is incredible how far in you can go with this stuff. And you can start to see the data chirps. Each of these is a chirp of data. You can do some very cool stuff. Unfortunately, though, this costs money. Okay. Sorry, I went down the technical rabbit hole there. Oh, you can see the difference. You want to see the difference between 50. I tell you where you see this. I have a video on this. I'm not going to do it now. Justin, I have it. If you go and watch my video on... Gemini. Beta FPV module review on Gemini. I show it. It's very cool. Very cool. It's very cool. Okay, right. Couple of other things to talk about. I can't remember what they are. HDZero. I'm just checking what I put in the title. HDZero. I do finally have the Eco VTX. Big thank you to Carl for sending one over. He also sent me a HDZero t-shirt. Although, I may have something to say about this. Sizing. Mr. Zhao. Carl. Sizing. 5XL? Really? Okay. Really? All right. All right. I need to lose some weight, it seems. But Carl did send me a t-shirt. So thank you, Carl. I get the message. It's fine. 5XL indeed. It's a one size. 2XL would have sufficed. You're right, Chris. Is that China 5XL, though? I don't know. I actually haven't tried. I should try, shouldn't I? Let's 5XL. Let's hope it's China size, shall we? Ooh, it might not be as bad as you thought, actually. You know what? actually, it's not that bad. All right, Carl, you win. You win. I didn't try it. It's a nice t-shirt, isn't it? China 5XL. That's nice. Thank you, Carl. I like that. It fits. Yes, I spoke about the Gofilm just now. Yeah, so first of all, Carl sent me this. So you're going to see it turn up in videos, because what vendors haven't worked out yet is I will wear... I don't think it's doing that, Super Deluxe. I will wear a t-shirt if someone sends it. And I tell you who has worked it out, the amazing team at Flytribe, because they keep sending me t-shirts. And I love the guys over at Flytribe. I've got a new magazine, which I'm going to go over in another video this week. But yes, so thank you for that. But I do have, and I'm now trying to see where it is. Carl has also sent me one of the Eco VTXs. Here it is. I couldn't find it. This is the rather interesting thing, which is the analog camera, analog HD camera with their Whoop VTX. Now, the VTX is basically the same as the Whoop Light, although it's basically the same, but it does have a different chipset here. Rather than it having that MIPI chipset, it has a different one, which I'm going to have a look at in the proper video. And then it has this analog HD camera, 20 by 20, it is. It is super interesting. So I'm going to have to install this on a Whoop. I can't install it. I want to leave the one system on one Whoop so we can compare how it looks to we need to see how it looks compared to the HDZero camera. Super lightweight. Has anyone tried to swap on a new camera? No, I haven't. I'm not aware of Carl releasing new goggles. What I am aware of with HDZero is, look, goggle sales are doing extremely well, is what I believe. The HDZero goggles have been a very successful product. And as a result of that, stock has been difficult to keep in. I don't think you can use any other camera. I just don't know if you can swap it for another one. I do believe the HDZero goggles for Carl have been a very, very strong product, is the words I'll use. A new HDZero product was presented at the Ice Storm race. I can't comment on what may or may not come in the future. All I can comment on is I happen to have a HDZero t-shirt and this in a box. I can't say if anything else came in a box. We'll have to wait and see in the future. But yeah, Carl, the goggles, I was talking to Carl the other day, and I'm really pleased. The goggle has done very, very well for them. It's as simple as that. Yeah, look, HDZero owns the racing scene for digital. And that's not going to change. There's nothing DJI are doing that's going to change that. There's nothing CaddX are doing that's going to change that. A race mode on a CaddX system is not going to change anything. What HDZero have been really good at is building out a product stack for that world. So what Carl has been doing really well is, you know, he built the VRX, then it was the goggles, and then it was the VTXs, especially around that world, and then this around the lightweight and the racing world. That is what Carl has built up. That is very, very good. As for what they're going to release in the future, I can't comment on unreleased products from any brand or manufacturer that I may have officially been told about. I'll tell you about the stuff that leaks from DJI because DJI haven't told me about it. But if DJI had sent me something, I wouldn't talk about it until it was released. But I think what Carl has done really well is build out the product stacks within his niche. A new interview, Carl? No, but we probably should do one. And that's what Carl has done really well. There's still latency, it's just small. Yes, look, HDZero isn't zero latency, but it's close to nothing you need to consider. But Super Deluxe is right. It's 1 to 3 milliseconds end to end. So there is latency. It's not zero. Please ask Carl for a black breakup option. Yeah, I'm shocked they haven't done that over the years. So, but look, I am going to be testing that as well. Looks good. It's going to be interesting. I was very skeptical about this product. I didn't get it. Those who are on my Discord will know I was like, I don't understand this. For the weight saving, is it worth it? But Carl is a great guy. Carl is a great guy. Great guy. So, and he sent me a 5XL t-shirt that fits. Not sure if that says more about the t-shirt or me. Anywho. Yes, I will check the thermals on it. I wouldn't expect the thermals to be much different because all of the basic stuff is still there. Still got a power amplifier. Still got the chipset. The MIPI chipset really didn't get hot before. Right. Before we wrap this stream up, I need to close my spectrum analyzer before it crashes my computer. I shouldn't have just saved that. The last thing we should talk about is this. Betaflight 4.5 has finally released, finally out there. I'm going to do some testing on Return to Home. This is one that I think changes the game. Now, the last version of Betaflight did with the new Return to Home features. However, this settles in a couple of the issues that they had on it. And I think this really does change the game with regards to Betaflight being a fully featured flight stack for the modern age that does have Return to Home. Look, I was very critical of Betaflight for not doing it up until now in the past. I've been very critical of Betaflight in the past. I don't think I'm their most liked person, but me and Sugar K do have some messages back and forth, considering we had a rather interesting first meet, is what I will say. Sugar K is a great guy, actually, once you get to know him. And we have some messages back and forth, and he makes me laugh, and he's a good guy. And I like the work they've been doing. Look, I'm not deep in the Betaflight team. That's Bardwell's world. Bardwell covers this stuff more than anyone, and he will be covering this. But I am super excited because I love Betaflight. I don't fly iNav. I don't see the point of iNav on a quad for me right now. Betaflight's got it all. Betaflight flies so well now. Betaflight, and with having this reliable Return to Home, this is important. This is really important now, and I'm really pleased to see it. I haven't tried it yet. iNav for fixed wing, without doubt. It's without question. Or Ardra But I'm really pleased that we now have expensive quads with digital VTXs that you can shove I would say you can shove a GPS on the back of. Unfortunately, though, we've ended up with digital FPV systems that stop after GPS is actually bloody working. So whilst Betaflight has actually fixed a lot of the issues, now we've got digital FPV systems that basically wipe out the bloody GPS anyway, and we're somewhat back at square one. But let's not get carried away. It is just dramatically better. Dramatically better. How tall am I? 5'10" Pacific. 5'11", actually, not 10. It's a game changer. Yeah, absolutely. You also have dimmable RPM motor harmonics filter. Yeah. Huh? All of my long range. Look, if you've got a big enough quad, it's not so bad. It's just if you've got a small enough quad, if you put the GPS anywhere near the VTX, it ain't great. 5'11" I am off. So, let me just check I haven't missed anything, because I want to check I haven't missed the super chats. I did see another one come up just now. Easy landing feature. Yeah, just so good. So good, so good. I want to say a huge thank you. That's it for tonight's stream. Massive thank you to everyone who's joined us. It's been incredible. Before you go, please do give it a like, because the likes help. If you want to support the channel, there are links to my Patreon as well as Buy Me a Coffee. Please do consider checking them out. I do have a Discord server as well. Stay safe. We'll be back same time, same place next week. And I will speak to you soon. Now I've got to end the stream with the 2 horrible buttons. Carl sent me a 5XL HDZero t-shirt that actually fits. I'm either fat or their sizing is out. I think we all know the truth.